Hi, I'm Pastor Tim. Here's another grain of Cybersalt for your world. A few weeks ago, I logged into my Facebook page to check on people's status updates and pages that they were sharing when I came across a notice from our denomination's head office letting us know of the passing of a man known to many of us in our denomination. He and his wife for years have been fixtures at our denominational camp, and he in his 80s had just recently passed away. I was really sad to hear that. He was a wonderful man. I felt sad that his wife had lost him, and I wanted to share my sadness, communicate that. I looked at the comments that were already on the page and I realized I didn't have anything to add. So instead of putting more down, I simply liked the notice. Social media and especially Facebook have really changed the concept of giving something the thumbs up and how we express liking something. Just imagine a few years ago if someone wrote you a letter and told you that one of their parents had passed away and all you did was respond with a thumbs up. They'd be devastated and hurt, and you'd never hear from them again. It just wouldn't make sense. Liking bad things happening to people was reserved for when they happened to bad people. Not that that was right. For the follower of Jesus, liking bad things happening to people who are bad is as twisted in God's eyes as truly liking something bad that happens to someone good. This is what Paul said in Romans chapter 12, verses 19 to 21. Do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, "It is mine to avenge. I will repay," says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Here Paul is telling us that the place of vengeance is not our place. We need to back out of that idea. We need to back out of that place of trying to hurt others back. That's a place reserved for God. God has other things planned for us. He doesn't want us to hurt people back or pay them back. He wants us to be loving towards them. If we see them hungry, we should give our enemies food. If we see our enemies thirsty, he wants us to give them drink. And Paul says that in doing these things, we're actually heaping coals of fire on their head. Now, a lot of people really like that burning coals on the heads of their enemy thing, but that's not what Paul's talking about. He's not saying love them so God will roast them even more. What he's saying is care for them, love them, and you'll be helping them to live. In Paul's day, coals of fire on the head was a good thing. That's how you transported coals from one place to another. Those coals that you would be able to start another fire and cook over or be warmed by. It was survival. You needed those coals to survive where you were going. What Paul is saying here is that if we help and love our enemies when we see them in need, we're going to be helping them to survive and to thrive. But then that begs the question, why even bother doing that? And the answer is forgiveness. Because what Paul has said here is that we're to leave room for God's vengeance and for us to be doing what is right. And if we do what is right, then instead of being overcome by evil, like Paul says in the text, we'll overcome evil with good. And when evil is overcome by good, then there's not even a need for God's vengeance because God shows forgiveness. God shows deliverance to the person who is being transformed. The possibility and likelihood that God may do the same act of grace in the lives of our enemies, just as he has done in our lives when we were still enemies of his, the fact that he might do that in the lives of our enemies is probably the main stumbling block to why it's so hard for us to love those who hurt us, why it's so hard to love our enemies, love those that seem to be against us and that are against us. It's just foreign. Not wanting to forgive others is really holding on to the right to hurt them back. And if we think that God's not going to hurt them back, then surely we will make sure that it gets righted. Our hearts need to be changed in this. But if Facebook and social media can change our thinking to the point where, and our practice of communication, to the point where we can actually like bad things and sad things that happen to good people, then surely God by His Spirit can change our hearts to love our enemies, to love those that are very hard to love. And together His kingdom will grow and we'll have the peace that vengeance would never bring us, can never bring us. I hope that thought adds flavor to your world today. God bless you. And I noticed a few weeks ago, he and his wife, who is still alive, well, he was very familiar. He and his wife were fixtures. She's still alive. This is the easy part. He and his wife, who survives him, don't talk about her dying or being alive. Yeah. Okay, I get it. Yeah, you don't like me being here. Social media and especially Facebook have really changed the whole concept behind giving something thumbs. It sure is quiet here. Maybe too quiet.